Welcome back to the front lines in another episode of Blitz Blood. In a former video we talked about the greatest pub crawl of World War II, but today we're going to talk about the greatest beer run ever. Picture this, Vietnam 1967, mortars in the distance, chaos in the jungle, and one American walks through it all, holding a duffel bag full of beer. Not a soldier, not a spy, just a guy from New York trying to deliver a cold one to his buddies in a war zone. It all started at a bar in Manhattan, Doc Fiddler's Tavern. Everyone's talking about the war, the protests, the draft. Then the bartender, known as the Colonel, slams his glass and says, "Someone ought to go over there and bring our boys a beer." Bar laughs, but John Chickie Donohue doesn't. He grins and says, "Yeah, I'll do it." Naturally, everyone doesn't believe Nino. "Sure you will, Chickie." But that next morning, he's packing a bag of Pabst Blue Ribbon and Schlitz like it's mission cargo. Now, Chickie wasn't totally nuts. He was a merchant seaman, so he sneaks onto a supply ship headed for Cree-non, Vietnam. He's got one duffel, zero clue, and about a dozen names and neighborhood friends scattered all over a literal war zone. By the time the shit hits port, he steps onto land, realizing this is not some movie. There are actual firefights in the hills, and the man still says, "Alright, who's first?" He tracks down his first buddy, Tom Collins, and when Tom sees him, his jaw drops. Imagine your hometown friend appearing in a war zone holding a beer like, "Hey bro, got you a cold one." Tom's like, "Chickie, what the hell are you doing here?" And Chickie goes, "Delivering morale, one can at a time." Next up was Landing Zone Jane. In the middle of chaos, bullets, mud, and more humidity than a sauna in hell, he finds his buddy Rick, and just as they reunite, the area comes under attack. Chickie's ducking, cursing, clutching his bag of beer like it's sacred cargo, and later he said, "I didn't come to fight, I came to drink." After a while, he heads north towards Khe Sanh, one of the most dangerous bases in Vietnam. He's trying to find Richie Reynolds, but when he gets there, the soldiers sadly tell him that Richie was gone. He was killed in action. That's when it hit him. This beer run isn't all laughs. These are his childhood friends, and not all were gonna make it home. Chickie finally made it to Saigon, right as the Tet Offensive explodes across Vietnam. He's in the middle of the city when the US Embassy gets attacked. Bullets are flying, chaos everywhere, and there's Chickie. He's crouched behind a wall with a half-empty bag of beer thinking, "Okay, maybe this was a dumb idea." But he ends up taking shelter with reporters and a CIA guy who have absolutely no idea why this random dude wandered through the war in jeans and a Hawaiian shirt's even here. Eventually though, he does find his way back onto a ship and he heads home. He walks into the same Manhattan bar like nothing ever happened, and everyone freezes. The bartender yells out, "Chickie, you actually did it." And he just grins and just replies, "I told you I would." Now years later he writes a book, The Greatest Beer Run Ever. Hollywood even makes it into a movie with Zac Efron, but the real Chickie is still alive, still laughing, and still the only man who invaded Vietnam armed with nothing but beer, guts, and loyalty. A one-man mission of pure friendship. This wasn't a war story about medals or glory. It was about showing up to your friends, even when the world's on fire. This was the greatest beer run ever.